Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Swaminarayan Bhagwan Jai. Akshar Purushottam Maharaj Jai. Radha Krishna Devani Jai. Siyavar Ramachandra Bhagwan Jai. Guru Hari Pramukh Swami Maharaj Jai. In the divine presence of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, in the equally divine presence of my Guru Hari Pramukh Swami Maharaj, in the presence of revered saints and all the friends who have gathered here this evening, beginning with Shri Mukesh Bhai Patel. If anybody has convinced me into this marriage, he is good for arranged marriages. We have been a brahmachari all our lives. And the imagination and the power of Mukesh Bhai. And at the same time, somebody whom I have known for long. And I also feel equally proud of recognizing Shri Pranav Adani. I have known him from young. Please rise up and we'll welcome you to begin this entire space. He has taken the reins of AMA for the next 2 years. And so many other people like Sunil Bhai Shah. And there are faces that I remember in my heart like Dhaval Bhai, Kanabar, Sunil Bhai Talati. So many. And one thing that once sweeps you off your feet in AMA is we have traveled far and wide. Right from international conference to simple conferences and discussions and places of thinking. But if there is anywhere where an auditorium is packed not just by an audience, but by attention, anticipation and affection, it's here at the AMA. And I also want to share with you first, I bow down and seek the blessings of all the great speakers and enlightened sadhus and enlightened people who shall be sharing their enlightened knowledge with you throughout this week. I first reverently bow down to them as well. The topic of my talk is conflict management, insights from the Ramayan. Just as Mukesh Bhai, if anything goes wrong, it's his fault. He just got me into this starting, it wasn't there. Once, in a train, an old man was reading the Ramayan. And at the next station, a young newly wedded couple boarded the train. Seeing the old man totally absorbed in the Ramayan, the young man first sneered, joked, mocked. And he said, "Old man, Ramayan is too old for today. Why are you wasting your time? It's totally irrelevant." The old man did not heed, he continued to read. At the next station, the young couple, totally energetic, they disembarked for some refreshments on the platform. Once the train started, the young man rushed and boarded the train. To his shock and horror, he had forgotten his wife on the platform, newly wedded. Teething problems. He forgot his wife on the platform and he was fuming, frustrated. The only thing he could do was to pull the chain, bring the train to a stop. And after all this conflict that had been created, when they came back into the compartment, the old man raised his head and said, "Young man, if you had been reading the Ramayan, this little conflict would never have happened. Ram always kept Sita first." But a fellow traveler, he was wiser. He said, "Sir, if he kept his wife first, he would never have 90% of conflicts in his life." All well and good. Our conflicts sometimes begin with who is first, who is last. Sometimes me and you. Sometimes yours and mine. Sometimes now or never. If anybody who is present in this hall, and if he has this feeling that tonight I'm going to discover a magical formula that will resolve all conflicts of my life, I ask them to leave and go back home. Only the dead have no conflict. So long as we breathe, conflicts will breed. They will surround us, they will abound. Sometimes they'll beat us black and blue, perforate our lives. Sometimes they'll decorate us gold and red. But conflicts are there. And I also want to tell you, the fact that you exist. There are constantly white cells in conflict with germs and pathogens in millions and micromillions. That's what gives you the ability to smile. Because there is conflict going on at every micro level. First, man was in conflict with animals. Now we have moved into societies, we are in conflict with man. And when our things don't go well, we are in conflict with God. And when everybody is not there, we are in conflict with ourselves. Buddha has said that for every krati there are 7 mind moments. One krati is 1/1,000,000th of a second. That means every second your mind is capable of thinking 21 trillion thoughts. તોય આપણને લાગે કલાક સુધી કંઈ સૂચતું નથી લે. That's conflict, I'll tell you that. But I want to tell you that they say all these thoughts are conflicting and are competing, and then the one that emerges out as the winner is the thought that you possess and you identify with. Conflicts are happening left, right and center. And we must learn to adapt. Sometimes adjust. Sometimes overcome. Sometimes avoid. And sometimes just to accept and live with them. The secrets that we want to know is, first, we must try and understand what do you and me we mean by conflict. The moment I use the word conflict, we suddenly think of, the Cuban conflict, or the Syrian conflict, or the Kashmir conflict. All this, the word conflict is normally associated either with a quarrel, a fight, or a war. But it's not these huge things. These are the ultimate aberrations of life. Ultimate aberrations. There are the smaller things which eat our mind away, which gnaw at the vitals of our life. They could be as simple as, I'll just give you a classic example. That perhaps the big diseases like TB, cancer and AIDS don't bother you now. But maybe the smaller ones like 24-hour fatigue, or you have a constant headache, or you have a humming in your ear, or some people are lucky to have 24-hour acidity. They get used to it. Things like acidity, disease spells, headache and fatigue, they kill the quality of your life more than one-time TB. The conflicts that really harass us, and we should sort them out first, would be the moral dilemmas, the social confusions, the career, contradictions, spiritual dead ends, emotional blackouts. These are the things that really disturb the quality of our life. And what we want to discuss today is how can we manage them. The normal Joe on the street, we would just simply manage either, most people manage conflicts with aggression. Yeah, I'll give you a very simple day-to-day classic example. Somebody told me, when the electricity goes off at night, it's hot, the first thing that people do is take something like a hand fan, and try and solve the conflict with a little air, hoping the lights come back. Then after 5-10 minutes, they take off their shirt, chaddi banyan dhari, they take off their shirt, and they hope that things will cool off, conflicts will be solved. I have heard, I have not seen, I have heard in Delhi, after 10 minutes of, just trying to relax with the lights off, we spent about 20-25 minutes swearing at the electricity board, then the laws, then the government, and everything bad you can remember. We are trying to let off our steam. Okay? Then in Delhi they have said sometimes the people get so frustrated they go to the streets, stop the cars, and they end up in fights with travelers and drivers because the electricity is not there. Did any of this stuff solve the conflict? No. Aggression just creates more conflict. Aggression. In our sampradaya, Swaminarayan sampradaya, there is a simple way. Even when we are having assemblies of 100,000 or 200,000 people, lights, they just go. So what does the speaker do? He starts the dhun, Swaminarayan. And what do the 100,000 people do? They follow the dhun. For 20 minutes, there's no swearing, no worries, till the lights come. And I think that's a better way, because in our country, only God can help when the lights go. It's perhaps a better way. But aggression is the path most people take, and that is not the path. The second is submission. Man works in extremes. Submission, one famous leader, he said that, look, I have no conflict with my wife at all. She does what she wants, and I do what she wants. You have better experience than me, right? That's the easiest way of solving conflict. Okay? Because I'm trying to tell you, but when we submit totally and every day, it creates resentment. It creates a deep hurt that freezes. It creates abnormalities. And we begin to suffer. Yes, you have submitted, you have solved the conflict, but you suffer. The third way is evasion. Majority of the people would feel delay decisions, evade, avoid meetings. To that extent that such people start avoiding people, crowds. They also avoid social events. And they isolate themselves so much that they sink in a deep depression from which they cannot come out. First is aggression, that's not the path. Submission may not be the path. Evasion is never the path. The fourth, which we want to discuss this evening, is positive action. There may be a conflict. Can you see some positivity in it and then chart the route? Before you take a positive action, your goal must be fixed, whether you want a spiritual end or a material end. Whether you want peace or you want the prize. Once you decide the end, that's what will tell you or shape what sort of a approach you should make. Sometimes, to solve a conflict, you need to conquer it. Sometimes, you need to compete. Sometimes, you need to collaborate. Sometimes, you need to compromise. And many times, you need to concede, just let go and walk out. These paths will only be decided if you have the end in mind, which is clear. If it's your wife, anything, I'll conquer her and conflict. You lose her. If he's your son and you think, okay, I can do this with my employees, you fine him, he'll run away. You need to do first what you want to do at the end, and that's how the path of conflict is decided. And that's most important. Once we learn to do that, we will be able to find out how to move ahead. Simple example of a positive action. Nowadays, as Mukesh Bhai mentioned, I'm sorry I'm banking on him, but he mentioned that once if the flights are full and they're early, they take off early. Yeah? But then sometimes they have to circle half an hour in the air as well to land. We won't do it tonight, don't worry. But still, I also want to point out that sometimes flights are late. And how do you and we behave when flights are late? Put your hand on your heart. Suddenly you become the owner not of just the plane. You are just owner of a little seat for 1 hour. You become the owner of not just the plane but the entire industry. And you become the representative of all the passengers in the world who have been hurt or divorced. You magnify yourself so much. And what happened, I remember there's an incident. Flight, even the flight people are very expert. They only announce delays 10 minutes at a time. And then you lose your cool. He said, if you had told us, I could have gone back for a cup of coffee. I would have done so many things, which you wouldn't have done anyway. You are just imagining. But anyway, because you want to pick a fight, you'll do anything. One man, he was fuming at the counter because the flight was late. And the poor attendant on the counter has no control over the fight. And he's swearing at the person that, I'm late, you've ruined my day. I'm going to sue you. What's your name? He or she, she's just the counter person. She doesn't know anything. And this guy was totally mad, gone berserk, swearing at them. He said, I'm going to take the entire company down and I'll see how the plane moves. Actually, he wanted the plane to move. Then he says, I'll see how it's going to move. You know what happens? You lose control over your thoughts, your senses, your words. You just sink deep and deep. Then what happens? Another gentleman arrives. And he is also in the same flight. And that guy says, sir, the flight has been delayed by 1 hour. The man said, super, great. Now this guy starts having a go at this guy. Why do you say super great? Look. He says, but super great. The flight is delayed, fine. He said, what do you mean fine? He said, there can be only 3 reasons why the flight could be delayed. First, there may be a technical problem. I don't want to be in a plane that has a technical problem. Either the weather is bad. I don't want to be at 30,000 feet up in the air if the weather is bad. And third, if the pilot has not arrived, I don't want somebody else flying the plane if the pilot has not arrived. I'd rather wait an hour and reach safely than jump on and not reach at all. I want to tell you, if you understand, you will be able to find a positive outcome, a positive passage to the conflicts that you face. And as Mukesh Bhai said, I cannot overemphasize the fact. If there is any culture out there that has a host and a wealth and a treasure house of wisdom to help you go through conflict, it is the wisdom of Indian culture. No other culture has a bank of such wisdom in the world. And of all the scriptures, one beautiful scripture that we have been gifted for eons, it is the Ramayan. The Ramayan, why I say it has credibility in conflict? I want to ask you, is there anyone in this hall who was born as a king and reduced to a beggar? Is there anyone who has been banished by his father and manipulated by his mother? Is there anyone who just after getting married, his wife was kidnapped for years and decades? Is there anyone who was shunned by society, who had to take help from animals to do his deed.